Welcome to a new reading of Book Uncle and Me. 21. Hundreds of letters. If one complaining letter can cause a problem, maybe hundreds of letters can fix it. The doves were trapped, but when they flapped their wings together, they could lift up the net and fly it far away from the hunter. First things first, and then get help from a friendly mole who cut them free. You may not think those things follow one another necessarily, but they can, and they do in that story. It's complicated, yes. I'm finding out that real life can also be that way. I tell Mrs. Rao about Book Uncle's notice. Mrs. Rao, ma'am, I say, we should write letters. We should write them to all the people who are running for mayor, and we should send the letters before the election. Mrs. Rao listens. A most interesting idea, she says. Tell me more. I tell her because I have thought it all over. We should make a list of all the candidates. Everyone can pick who they want to write to. Wonderful, says Mrs. Rao. I'll bring last Saturday's paper with all the political party addresses on the center page. I've written my letter already, I say. Can I read it? You can and you may, says Mrs. Rao. Dear Karate Samuel, sir, I want to tell you about a special person in our city. We call him Book Uncle. He has a lending library on the corner of St. Mary's Road and First Cross Street. He has books for everyone. He loves his books like friends. The city is making Book Uncle get a permit. Why? He does not sell anything. He simply lends his books out to anyone who wants to borrow one. If you take a book and keep it, that is fine with him also. If you get elected, will you help Book Uncle? Sincerely, Jasmine Z. Cater. I finish reading. The classroom falls dead silent. My throat is so dry. I think it's going to close up. Then everyone claps, claps, claps. Who else is going to write a letter about Book Uncle? Asked Mrs. Rao. A few hands go up, then a few more. Before too long, many kids in the class are volunteering to write letters about Book Uncle. Book Uncle is quickly becoming our election issue. At recess time, Rini and Anil and I tell everyone we know about the letters that we are collecting. They all tell their friends who tell their friends. It turns out that some of those friends or friends of friends are also Book Uncle's patrons. Of course they are. I am not the only one who borrows books from him. I know that. Still, it makes me happy to see my good idea become a real election issue. The message spreads like wildfire. That is to say fast. Soon, Mrs. Rao's desk is covered with letters. Some are for Mayor Sly. Some are for those other people who want to be mayor. But most of the letters, a wild and fiery number of them, are addressed to Karate Samuel. 22. Connections. The next Tuesday is Republic Day. They show us a big parade on TV, broadcast all the way from Delhi. Even Rafiq Uncle is impressed. I can see it. He can't find anything to criticize. The President of India gives her talk. Floats from all the states go past. Dancers dance and the marching band plays play. After that, the local news comes on. First, a few headlines, national news, then local. After that, we cut to a studio where all the candidates for mayor wait, ready to be interviewed. There's Mayor Sly with his pointy mustache, and one man with a bald head, one wearing a dazzling white shirt, a lady in a printed sari, and Karate Samuel, looking very fine with a rose in his buttonhole. All these people want to be mayor. The interviewer opens up with some welcoming remarks. Then the talk begins. Back and forth. I wait for someone to say something about Book Uncle. No one does. No one. What is wrong with him? I try not to fidget, and still no one says anything, which makes me so angry I cannot sit still, which makes Rafiq Uncle demand in an irritated voice, "What is the matter, Jasmine?" "Book Uncle," I burst out. "He's an important election issue." He looks completely baffled, so I explain it as well as I can. I tell him the whole story, all the way from how I mean to read a book every day for the rest of my life. The pink notice, Mrs. Rao, my letter writing campaign, everything. "We wrote all those letters," I say, "and still no one cares." It does not look as if Rafiq Uncle is paying any attention to my explanation. Instead, he glares at my father. Who is this book uncle? Rafiq uncle demands to know. Uma takes a deep breath. She picks up a small brass bell that sits on the end of the table next to the sofa. Thambi, says Rafiq uncle to Wapa, what do you have to say about your daughter roaming about here and there all by herself, reading who knows what trash from the street corner? Uma lets out that deep breath she took a moment ago. She looks as if she would like to throw the bell at Rafiq uncle. My father comes to life. My father sits up straight. He clears his throat. Rafiq Anna, he says in his most respectful tone to his big brother. I trust my daughter. I trust her judgment. I will not look over her shoulder as if I suspect that she is up to no good. Uma's head jerks up. She puts the bell down. Then she covers her mouth with her hand. Is she smiling? I can't tell. Rafiq uncle says, of course you trust her. I'm not saying, which is when I interrupt, not to be rude or anything, but because I can't stand it anymore. Please, Rafiq uncle, don't talk about me as if I'm not here. And that silences them all. Totally. I say, Uma, Wapa, I'm going to see Rini. Is that okay? My parents nod. I run off the door and across the landing and knock on Rini's door. We have to do something to help Book Uncle, I tell her. It's up to us. What can we do? Rini says. Somehow, my confusion has been swept away by hearing Wapa talk about back to his big brother for the first time ever. I don't know why, but I now see things very, very clearly. Rini, I say, there just weren't enough doves lifting that net. We have to get more. Rini is a little confused about what doves have to do with the piece of paper in the city. But after I clear that one up, she says, oh, now I get it. Of course I'll help you. We go door to door, up and down Horizon apartment flats. We tell everyone about Book Uncle. Whoever you vote for, we say, that person has to let Book Uncle keep his street corner lending library. Don't you agree? China Abdul Sahib nods. I know him well, he says. You do? How does he know Book Uncle? He never speaks two words to anyone. Here I am getting that surprise feather feeling again. China Abdul Sahib drums again the doorframe. He says, music books. He gave me music books years ago when I thought I wanted to be an accountant. He changed my life. He's one of Book Uncle's patrons. I have never heard China Abdul Sahib make such a long speech. That Bukaya is a good man, says the Istri lady from behind the tall, growing taller pile of clothes she's collecting from the boy in 2C and the lady in 2A. She counts the clothes carefully. 4 rupees each for the pants and the saris, 2 for the shirts and blouses. That will be 26 for you and 42 for you, she says. I'm sure she's right. She did that in her head. I would need paper and pencil. I wonder if Book Uncle taught the Istri lady how to add. I don't know him, says the lady in 2A, who is new to the building. I tell her all about Book Uncle. Always has the right books for the right person on the right day. I'll give my vote to whoever promises to help him, says the Istri lady. The lady in 2A nods. She's on our side. I miss him, says the boy from 2C. I'll tell my parents and my grandmother. So he's a patron too. We have to save Book Uncle's place, we say to Rini's mother in 3B. We tell her why. No question, says Shoba Auntie, between taking sips of coffee from the mug in one hand and sending a text message on her phone with the other. Shoba Auntie is always doing more than one thing, which is probably why she is looking a little tired. You must make it a media issue, she tells us. Take it to TV. Rini looks at me. I look at her. How? We say together. Shoba Auntie says, connections, my dear girls. It's who you know. My heart sinks. I don't. Yes, you do, Rini says. Mummy! Shoba Auntie nods. I'll put in a word at the TV station. You watch the news. What's today? Tuesday? How about Thursday evening? Okay? 23. Fine. By Thursday, Rafiq Uncle has gone back to the village. He has finished his business in the city. That evening, Rini comes over to 3A to watch the news. She arrives early. So we go out to the balcony. Uma, I say before I close the door behind us, don't forget to tell us when the news starts. I don't think I have ever seen you so eager to watch the news, my mother grumbles, but there's a gleam in her eye. She's been gleamy since my uncle left. And another funny thing, I think my parents have forgotten to scold me for being rude to Rafiq uncle. Rini and I stand on the balcony and look at the parrots fuzzing in the rain tree. The pink, flowery, feather-leafy branches have to be clipped every now and then, so the squirrels don't get into the flats and make a big mess. Rini coughs and shuffles her feet. Are you sick? I ask. Have you caught a cold? Does your stomach hurt? She looks as she would like to curl up in some corner and disappear quietly. No, she says. I'm not sick. Then what? Nothing, she says. Something, I insist. Nothing. Something. Tell me. I can't. Am I your friend? I demand. Yes, she says. Then, so tell. Okay, fine, she tells. It's Daddy. Your daddy? I lower my voice. Are your parents still fighting? She shakes her head so hard her plates flop from side to side. No, she says. But that's how I found out, because they're talking to each other again, and I overheard them. They were arguing about Book Uncle all this time, and I didn't even know. What? What did they say? Why is it so hard to get this story out of my friend? I try to be patient. Rini, just tell me from the beginning, okay? She says, all in a rush. He sent the letter. He did. But it was for the association, because otherwise we would have to pay a fine. He was only trying to help, Jasmine. What letter? What fine? Rini, I'm not a mind reader. Will you tell me what you're talking about? The letter to the city, she wails, complaining about Book Uncle. Only he wasn't complaining, really, just explaining that it was Book Uncle and not us. What does she mean? That must be the letter that the history lady told us about, that some nasty person sent to the city saying nasty things about Book Uncle. The nasty person was Rini's dad? And what does she mean we would have to pay a fine? That does not seem fine at all. It all seems more puzzling than ever. Jasmine, Uma calls. The news is going to start in just a minute. 24. The news. Fortunately, there is no time for Rini to stay upset. She quickly tells me everything on the way inside from the balconies to the sofa, where we settled down to watch the TV news. The city was trying to find us. Us! All the people in Horizon apartment flats. They were going to do this because they thought we had set up the lending library just outside our building compound. They called the library clutter. Well, that was two things they got wrong. Rini's daddy tried to tell them that the library belonged to Book Uncle and not us. He tried to explain that it was not clutter. He didn't say nasty things about Book Uncle, Rini says. You know he would never do that. Why would the city even care about Book Uncle's lending library being outside our building? We didn't mind, so why should anyone else? What is wrong with all these people? Don't worry, I whispered to Rini. We'll do something. She looks as if she wants to believe me, but she's not sure if she does. Truthfully, I don't know if I believe me. There they are in a row, all the candidates. They begin with things I don't know much about, like what do they feel about the new techno zone, and do they have a drinking water plan for the city? I should try and remember those things in case I ever need to know about them. Then the TV person says, I understand you have all received letters about a certain gentleman in our city. Says Mayor Sly, Joharaha, looking unhappy. Who runs a street corner library, says the TV person. Yes, says another candidate. Something like that, says a third. I wish to clarify, Mayor Sly says, his hands making designs in the air. This so-called Book Uncle person, he is, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, breaking the law. I have received complaints. We must make our city clean and green. clean and greeny. Yes, that's my motto. The TV person coughs. He turns to Karate Samuel. And you, sir? Do you have anything to say on this matter? Yes, indeed, says Karate Samuel, all bright and ready. I have received many, many letters, even from children, about one Mr. Book Uncle. At last, at long last. I'm so excited I jump up and down. My parents look at each other and they smile in that way grown-ups have when they're trying to understand kids, but really, it is too much for them, so it's best to smile and carry on. Karate Samuel is carrying on. I understand Mr. Book Uncle makes it possible for children to get good books. Can you think of a better thing to do? The TV person says, no, he can't. He is a symbol of our city's pride in elderly people, children, and literacy. Karate Samuel pauses here, as if he now expects applause. He has said some nice things about Book Uncle. That is a start. Slowly, I begin to clap my hands. Rini sniffles, but she claps her hands too. All at once, our little flat fills with the sound of people clapping their hands. I turn to see. Who else is here? Why, the room is full. While we have been watching the news, it seems that all the people who live in Horizon apartment flats have come to watch it with us. Even the newly married from 1B are looking at the TV instead of at each other. See, I say to Rini, if one letter can cause a problem, many letters can make it right. She nods, but she still looks as she's taking a step, expecting to find pavement under her feet, but it isn't there. 25. Just 1 minute. The next day, Wapa comes home from work a little early. He offers to take me to the La restaurant for mango ice cream. Yay, ice cream! Can I call Rini? Of course. I ring Rini's doorbell. She asks Arvind uncle. He goes and gets his wallet, which is how not 2, not 3, but 4 of us end up around the table at the La restaurant, chatting over little bowls of creamy, melt-in-your-mouth mango ice cream. Ice cream is not the only thing to share. There is news as well. Rini's daddy has a job. He's going to be working at the TV station. They needed an accountant, and now they have hired him. He's excited, so Rini's excited too, and so am I, since that is how friendship works. Samples of new surprise ice cream for anyone? The waiter says. Rini and I both want to try the new surprise ice cream. The waiter says he'll be back in just 1 minute. As he disappears into the back of the La restaurant, the talk at our table turns to Book Uncle. Would you believe the mistake I made? Arvind uncle says. He talks about that letter he wrote to Mayor Sly. Bad mistake, I tell you. I was upset because our association got threatened with a fine of 2,000 rupees for debris and clutter on the pavement. Why? Wapa says. Why would they suddenly decide to fine us? Politics and crookedness, that's why, says Rini's father. He said that after he sent his explaining, not complaining letter, he got suspicious. So he asked a few questions. He found out that a crew of city workers had been sent to clean up the street just outside the Palm Tree Hotel. The Palm Tree Hotel is down the road from Horizon apartment flats. Why was the city suddenly so worried about the road outside the hotel? So Rini's daddy found out who owns the hotel. It seems that the owner's daughter is getting married and the future in-laws are coming here from Mumbai for the wedding. Naturally, they're going to stay in that very fancy hotel that we walk past all the time but have never been in. They want to get the sidewalks cleared and cleaned in time for the wedding. We know that Palm Tree Hotel very well. Whenever the pressure in our water taps goes down, Uma grumbles, "Look at the lawn of that Palm Tree Hotel. Look at those fountains. They're drinking up our water." The just 1 minute waiter finally brings little sample cups with very pink scoops in them. Pomegranate. It tastes sippy and sweet. So who is he? Says Wapa. The owner of the Palm Tree Hotel. Arvind uncle lowers his voice. You won't believe it. One of the reporters at the station told Shobha, "It's the mayor." The mayor? Suddenly, an ice cream scooper has scooped a giant hole in my insides. Mayor Sly? What? This is why he wants Book Uncle off the pavement off the corner of St. Mary's Road and First Cross Street to clean up the street for his daughter's wedding? All the hoopla about fines and permits is just an excuse, says Arvind Uncle. It's unbelievable. Book Uncle is not debris. He is not clutter. How can anyone say that about a lending library that puts the right books into the right hands on the right day? That sweet and sippy pomegranate ice cream suddenly tastes flat.